Hello.
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 All right. Can you hear me clearly?
I can. How's my audio?
Yes, your audio is great. Your audio is
Excellent.
great. You're off to a great start this week.
We are. This is very smooth actually compared to our first one. Because we started early.
Yeah. A little preparation changes everything. You know?
Right. So welcome to another episode of Ask the Question. This week we're talking about values, entrepreneurship, and authenticity, I think, is going to play into that. Authenticity is such a buzzword these days in entrepreneurship, I think. Everybody's talking about it.
Yeah, and by buzz, everybody's talking about it. Why is everybody talking? You know what? I'm not even asking questions. You're asking questions. So look, I'm gonna be. That makes me question. You know why? Yeah. Why is everybody talking about it now?
I think this episode will be kind of us both asking questions because disclaimer: I do not have questions prepared for this episode. So it's gonna be more of a conversation. I think, which will be good because let's start with that. Why are people talking about authenticity so much? Do you have thoughts on that first? Go ahead, if you do.
Yeah, I mean, I put this banner together real quick so people, I don't know if I misspelled entrepreneurship there. I probably did. Oh, I did misspell it. Let me correct that. But anyway, preneur. I believe that people are talking about entrepreneurship more. Authenticity more in entrepreneurship because a lot of people aren't happy. That's just pretty much what it is. Unhappiness levels, I think on a qualitative level, have skyrocketed, even beyond our normal rates of misery. And so now we're trying to find a solution to it. And they notice connection between authenticity and actually feeling happy.
Yeah. And I think that word disconnection is really plays a big role because while we are so overly connected with social media and everything like that, there's also been this layer of fakeness, if I may, that's permeated through that for a long time. And I do think that people are, just sick of that, sick of this sort of fake reality, the highlight reel that we all feel the pressure to show. So when it comes to business, I think that shifting into this place where we're just showing up real and being who we are. I think that goes a long way these days. And we just want that genuine, connection. We want to see people for who they are, not behind this veil of social media fakeness and filters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, and again, we decided to do this because a lot of entrepreneurs are wondering, trying to find their way. And when we talk about values, and again, we talk about introspection, values, some of the questions that we brought up in the description were, how did you decide your brand? How did you decide your mission statement? These things, how do you assign your path? But when we talk about introspection, shadow work, and values, in order to deepen your understanding of your values, you have to do the introspective work. And that's where shadow work comes in. And of course, shadow work, all of these things are connected to entrepreneurship for us because we believed in values-based entrepreneurship, Yeah,
absolutely. Values is something that really ever since I got into the business world, I've heard people talk about values, knowing your values, finding your business, your core values for your business. And I do think it is extremely important. Again, we have so much influence around us, especially when you get into the entrepreneurial world. There's all of these goals and targets and things you should be doing, how many subscribers do you have, whatever, without having values and kind of that guidance, that inner guidance of who you are and the impact that you want to have. It's really easy to get caught up in all of these things, the vanity metrics, and to, kind of just do things for the sake of doing them as opposed to doing them because it's part of your mission. It's part of who you are and what you want to contribute as a solopreneur or a company or a business or whatever.
Ooh, I get excited when you start talking like that, Hannah. Girl, wait on. Talk to me.
Yeah. that was was my statement. No, it's yeah, we need these things to guide us, I think, because yeah, we really can get caught up in all of this other stuff. And once you start to do that, it's really easy to a lot of things. It's really easy to lose motivation for what you're doing. And I think for me, the biggest thing has been the challenge of keeping the spark and the excitement and the fulfillment in my business.
Yes. And what do you find the most challenging part? Because there's so much I could say about that. Like, what is so challenging, you think, about, us finding fulfillment in what it is that you do? Why is that even a challenge?
I think it can be challenging because we tend to have these surface level goals. For example, like I always use the 10K months. Like everybody wants to have a 10K month in their business, but the real question is why? Like, why do you want that? And so you can get on this, hamster wheel of doing things and trying things in like the shiny object syndrome and never really staying focused if you're just really worried about these surface level goals instead of going deeper than that.
Yes. And that's where values come in, because values, that's our why, essentially. When I wake up, sometimes I'm excited to go to sleep. Well, oftentimes I'm excited to go to sleep just so I can wake back up the next day and do what I did the day before, and that's because I'm directly connected to something that is of value to me. When we move to a values-based space of entrepreneurship, we're no longer seeking on the vanity metrics, but the vanity metrics, honestly, they represent everything in this physical space.
Yeah. I was going to say that, like, it's not just about, like, we call it especially in the marketing, like online business world, the vanity metrics is like how many likes a post gets or how many followers you have. But really that can be applied to like everything in life, right? How many square footage is your house and how new is your car? And like, again, it's not to say that we can't have or shouldn't want nice things and to like have that experience of, maybe luxury or maybe just having something because you enjoy it. But yeah, I think it's so important to really like dig into the why around that.
Yes. The why is everything, because the why is, again, values. It gives us direction. It's not a destination. Values is a direction. It gives us direction because it's not about the destination, which is why they say happiness is not a destination to be reached. It's the way we travel. Our values dictate behaviors, which is how we travel. But when we focus more on the behaviors as opposed to the why we're doing the behavior, then we've lost our way, because a goal must be attached to a value. Now, let me back up and break that down just a little bit more. What I mean by that is that a goal, goals are important. Values and goals are both important. You have to begin with value, though, because the value gives you direction, right? And then you have to determine if you're actually moving towards, like if you're actually moving in that direction. Mm-hmm. And setting goals allow us to see if they become landmarks that allow us to see if we're moving in the direction of our values, So the goals are important, but in this society, in our society, in our culture, we focus more on goals than anything else without understanding that it must be attached to a value, unless it's not going to give us any fulfillment. Yeah. And so even things that gave us fulfillment in the past may no longer serve us in that space. And so that's why the goals have to constantly be placed in juxtaposition with our values.
Yeah, it's a moving target. And I see that, a lot in business and entrepreneurship. For me, when I started my business, it was a side hustle. And my goal, my first goal was to replace my income that I was making working. If that was my goal now, it's not very ambitious of me. It's that goal has changed so much, and that's because the impact and what I want to do, it becomes greater and greater. But yeah, it's totally a moving target, and that requires us though to constantly be kind of going back and reevaluating what it is that we want and why we want it.
Yes. And even doing this right now, right now, people are just coming to know us. So, we may have one viewer come in and off, maybe at max, we get excited around 5 viewers, an episode right now. But all of those things are vanity metrics. That's not the why. That's not connected to the why whatsoever. It's why are we doing this? It's because we're passionate about what we do. You're passionate about, you see something in me that has lit up you, or you see yourself in that space as well. And so you're helping me to get out there and do what I'm passionate about doing, which is putting truth and love out there. And it caused me I have to choose to be seen in this space in order to do so.
Yeah.
So is the mission being accomplished by us being up here? Yes. Then
yeah,
it doesn't matter.
Showing up.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think that can, like, that's a big thing that anyone can take away from this is like, we literally all have to start somewhere, and that's at ground zero. And so the fact that we might jump on a live on a Friday afternoon, the day after Thanksgiving, and we might not have any live viewers, or we might have a few people pop in and out, that shouldn't deter us from doing what we're doing. That shouldn't deter any of you guys from showing up and doing what you want to do, because it's just the fact that you are here and that you're showing up and that you're putting that out there. So, yeah.
The second I allow eyes to dictate my behaviors is a moment that I said that these eyes now, I've given them the authority to place a valuation on who I am, on my worth. And I know that eyes can't do that. That's not something I could surrender that, which is I could fall into that deluded state of believing that the other is supposed to dictate to me what my value is, but that's not their space. They're only there to help me understand a deeper truth of who I am, therefore giving me more access to things that I do value based off of the experiences that we have together. But outside of that, the other cannot evaluate me. I must evaluate myself, and that comes with knowing myself, which is where the introspective work comes in, where you have to do the shadow work, and that's why we're moving into this space. Shadow work, it became a buzzword. I heard some of my clients even use the word shadow work,
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a second, what is this? Why are people talking about this thing called shadow work? And when I looked it up, I was like, okay, well, yeah, this is basically what I do every day.
Yeah.
Like, this is introspective work. This is what I do professionally, personally. Like, this is what I do. So I said, okay, if people need some central theme to look at, to help them understand that, yes, you need this in order to understand who you are, so that you can get a deeper truth of who you are, therefore giving you more access to who you are, therefore giving you the ability to invite in experiences of happiness. If this is what it takes, then I'll make sure that I'll use this phrase to get people's attention, so that they can see that, yes, I do have answers to these things that they've been asking themselves for maybe decades.
Yeah. And so you said being able to access who you are, which I think obviously plays into and it's like core to that authenticity thing. But then the other side of it is letting go of who you aren't, right? And that's also another big thing with entrepreneurship, is that we can really hold on to these stories or beliefs. And, limiting beliefs is, again, it's another one of those like huge sort of buzzwords. For a reason, we all have limiting beliefs and things that hold us back, but doing this kind of work gets us to really look at that and see, like, where am I holding on to things that are just literally lies I've told myself, or stories that I've made up based on things that have happened to me, and then can I find evidence that that's not true? Like, it's a belief, but it's not a truth. Being able to let that go.
It's like a difference of like choosing to move away from something instead of towards something.
Yeah.
You move from a values-based space, you're essentially moving towards something. But much of our behaviors, based off of the mind and fear and it wanting to seek out pleasure, it's much about running away from things.
Yeah, and that gets so ingrained. Like, it's not just easy to shut that part of you off.
No. It most certainly is not. But that's where, again, success is an endurance game. That's where you have to remember what it is that you actually value, your why. And then your why will drive you through that discomfort, Yeah, there's a lot of times I don't feel like doing, actually, the fact that I do anything outside of my practice is just, I don't know, it's a mystery to me as well,
Me too. I mean, for you, like, honestly, he's got like a practice, and then is always, on the Slack replying on his days off and vacations, things like that. And just like, you have to talk to people all day, and then you talk to us, and then you record videos, and it's just like, oh my goodness, like
Yeah, you really got to be, this is
Yeah.
values. This is how you know values is driving me, because motivation in of itself will never last. The motivation that people look for, that motivation in of it lasts because usually that motivation is tied to something that we're running away from.
Yeah.
And so once any pain that we experience, even when we experience, we feel like it's going to last forever. But that pain, sure enough, will be alleviated at some point. And if you're motivated based off of discomfort, when that discomfort is alleviated, then your motivation also flies, poof, gone,
Yeah.
But when you move from a values-based space, now no longer the external environment you're dependent on it. It's this internal fire. Your values, it becomes like this internal flame, this internal hunger that you have that says, feed me, feed me, feed me, get up, feed me more purpose, feed me more values-based activities, feed me, feed me, go in this direction, feed me. And so once that starts to light up inside of you, that never stops. And so the motivation never stops. Like it's an endless supply. When you connect your values-based intentions to your daily mission, you never run out of motivation.
Yeah. So I want to touch on something there, because I think that we can easily confuse that drive with the hustle mentality. And I think everybody's relationship with the word hustle is a little bit different. But yeah, I mean, that's again, it's not to say that you have to go, you have to push yourself to work 12-hour days to be successful, or that you should, constantly be doing, because it's also about being, it's also about giving yourself a space to recharge. So I just want to make sure that that is not confused with what we're talking about. And I think what we're talking about as well has more to do with you knowing so deeply what it is that you want to, why it is that you want it, your values, and then being able to show up fully and put your whole heart and soul into it without actually getting burnt out.
Yeah, and get away from the words burnt out, because burnt out is tied to producing something. And when I'm talking about moving in a values-based space, moving in that space and leaning into your discomfort, which is really the point I was trying to make. Values will cause you to lead into that discomfort even when you don't feel like doing a thing. You can lean into the discomfort of confronting a parent that you've been putting off for X amount of years because you know how they're going to react whenever you stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
Values will cause you to do that, because sure enough, you will never find the motivation to do that. That's why typically people hold on to what they want to say to their parents for years, decades, if not wait until they die. And then they finally come out and say, I experienced this, or, I wish I would have did this, or I wish I would have said this to them, that moving from a values-based space, I value authentic communication. I realize that communication is the lifeblood of any relationship. And if I'm honestly saying to myself that I have a relationship with my parents, then I ought to. And that's an ought to now, which is a should, an expectation. But I believe that it is, if I'm coming from a values-based space to communicate how I feel towards them. Now, if they are not a receiving space, if when I give myself, they are not willing to receive, then at that point I accept the fact that they are not a vessel to receive what I have to offer, and I keep it moving. Because the last thing I want to do is go to a restaurant that's not serving food. I'm just going to continue to be hungry, and the longer I sit there, the hungrier I get, the more pain I go through. So I don't believe in sitting at empty restaurants, So that's really, but I move from my space based off of what it is that I'm seeking, moving towards, which is authentic communication, as opposed to what I'm running from, which is the usual rejection that I know I'm going to get based off of how they've always responded to me their entire lives. This is why people don't be real with their whether they keep it real with their family members and their friends. They hold on to it. And it's not what, I said this before the show, it's not what goes said that destroys a relationship, but what goes unsaid. And too many people are keeping their lips shut, because we don't even know how to communicate with each other, because we don't know how to move into that space of authenticity without losing our stuff, because it scares us.
Yeah, I was going to say, a lot of times, holding on to that is fear of what other people, or what that receiving person is going to think or feel about us. When we say something, we don't want to make somebody feel bad. Or maybe we do, but it's a lot of that comes from fear, I think, holding on to that. So that's again where we're diving deeper and doing the shadow work can help us face that and come up with the courage and
precisely
be real.
Precisely. You know, you can tell based off of a person's speech some of the things they've been through in life, you know, based off of tonation and when they decide to elevate their voice versus bring it down and things of that nature. You know, again, it comes down to Carl Jung, until the unconscious becomes conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. The fact that I can look at people, listen to the way they talk without saying a word to them, and listen to the tone of their voice and then understand part of their story based off of that, that's knowledge. Knowledge is power. Why should I know more about you than you know about you? You know, this is how propaganda and a lot of the foolishness that happens in society, this is where it comes from, because other people who are in the space of understanding the human mind, the human psyche, they understand people far greater than they understand themselves. And if I know more about you than you know, then I have the upper hand.
Yeah.
Not that it's even about an upper hand, as if that's the thing, as if that's the barometer we should be going by. But in a society that's been dominated based off of how much control, how much we can control the other, that's a dangerous thing in some people's hands.
Yeah, and I think that people are, you know, whatever spectrum they land on, I think people are becoming more aware and concerned about the amount of control that exists in our society. So that's all I'll get into on that. And I was also just smiling too, because I know at one point, you, like with you saying, you can tell a lot by someone by how they speak. Like, I think it was something about me, like raising my voice or like interrupting. You're like, oh, you've always had to talk over people, haven't you? And I was like, yes, I have a very loud family. So I remember that. I was like, how did you know?
Algorithms. And the thing is, this is the lesson about being a therapist, you know, is that, yeah, you could live in that illusion of, or delusion of I'm the only one that experiences this. I'm the only one that this is weird or this, that, whatever. But then when you're a therapist and you see people of different backgrounds, of different economic levels, I mean, that have never spoken to each other, but yet no matter what it looks like in this physical plane, the same patterns, the same behavioral patterns show up again and again and again. And then the same words used to describe their experiences shows up again and again and again. And I'm like, okay, this is no longer a personal thing. This is a human thing, you know? And when you can move it to that space, now you can begin to understand that, okay, now we're dealing with the human algorithm as it is right now, influenced by dominant culture. And I can work with that. You know, you usually got to understand what is solid versus what is created, and then help a person see that perception is reality, and that there's certain parts of their perception, really all of their perception, that they can change. And if they can change that, then it changes their reality, because then it changes the way that they respond to their environment, which dictates much of the constructed reality that the mind does. If that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. So kind of going back into the entrepreneurship, authenticity values, we've touched on why authenticity matters and why people are talking about that now. How would somebody go about finding their values? Like, what would be step number one?
Yeah, step number one that I do is really to journal. I would ask myself the question, what is most important to me, on a journaling page? What is most important to me? And then I would write out everything that is really important to me. And then after I've just purged all of that without trying to correct my grammar or any of that, after I've gotten all of that out of my system onto the page, now I can look at my words from an observer's perspective. Yeah. And I can begin to see certain patterns, you know, certain things that keep on showing up for me. And these represent the things that are of value to me, you know? Yeah.
And even more specifically too, I've seen a couple that I've liked that were like helping figure out your values, where you look at, you know, what 3 or 5 things are like always in my space. Like, what do I have a lot of, or what do I, guys, the back. What's in my space? So are you a person that has like a lot of books around? Are you like a notebook person? Are you, what is always around you? What do you spend a lot of your time doing? you know,
Mm-hmm.
those kinds of questions. So even, you know, what is important to me could be vague. If you need something to kind of like narrow that down, it's like, what's in my space? What do I spend a lot of my time doing? What things am I like, do I really care about, or do I get fired up about, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. What am I afraid of losing?
That's another good
You
one.
know?
Yeah.
And I say it like that because honestly, I whatever we fear, we attract because we stare at our fear. So honestly, I don't like that. I don't like that question at all. I don't. That's not a values-based question. But since people understand their fears way better than they far greater than they understand their values. You begin with what you keep running away from. So what am I afraid of losing? What am I most afraid of right now?
Yeah.
And then leaning into that discomfort of understanding that shadow, doing the shadow work, doing the introspective work, then that will get you right on back to what it is that you actually value. Again, that's how introspection ties into this.
Yeah, I've also seen like the levels of why. I don't know if that's actually what it's called, but you know, for example, if like your goal is, you know, if you're starting from your goals place and you're like, well, I want to make $5,000 a month, and then you ask yourself like why, and then if you can just keep asking yourself why for each answer, and like how deep, like getting deeper and deeper with each answer and question. Hopefully that makes sense the way I explained it. But if it's like, I want to make $5,000 a month so I can pay off my debt. Okay, well, why do I want to pay off my debt? Well, because I feel like it's just like a dark shadow over me and I want more financial freedom. Why do you want more financial freedom? Well, I really want to be able to retire my parents. Why do you want to retire your parents? And just keep going deeper and deeper into that.
Yes.
Until you get, you know, to that surface or that bottom level.
Again, the center. When you get to the core of things, again, you dig deep enough, no matter where you stand at on the planet, eventually we all reach the same center. And the longest distance any of us will ever take is the distance between our heads and our hearts. And so doing the introspective work is you beginning that journey. Remember Lao Tzu, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So step by step, as much as you can tolerate, step by step, you move towards your heart space to understand what is more and more valuable to you. Because the more you understand what is valuable to you, the closer you are getting towards your heart space anyway. Because the mind and the left part of the brain is not concerned with what it is that you actually value, unless what it is that you value is actually very pleasurable for it. Outside of that, it has little concern with your values. That's why they both must be looked at and weighed daily. If you move from a goals based perspective without looking at your values, then you'll have no fulfillment. If you look at values and you never look at your goals, then you'll never move anywhere. You'll always be talking about what you're going to get done and what you hope to get done and what you will eventually get done. And you'll be speaking like this, but no movement whatsoever. That's where the goals come in. The goals give you a target. This is how I know I'm moving towards this. Yeah. But absent, if they're not connected, if the glue is not, it's not there between the two, then you're essentially a sailboat without a rudder. You're just moving without direction.
Yeah.
Moving, but you have no direction, you know, and so there you have no fulfillment.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a great way to put it. You need both. You need both. If you want to be fulfilled, which I think most people, you know, that's what we all want.
Yeah. And how do you get that in a society now where we are changing and evolving in entrepreneurship, where it's not about, oh, you need to just get this done and putting a whip on somebody's back, as opposed to, you know, what actually fulfills this person and at the same time helps both parties accomplish their goals, you know, their values-based goals, their shared values-based goals. Yeah. You know, that's not even really much of a question, which is why when you go to a lot of board meetings or company meetings or whatever, these lunch meetings where they give appreciation for the employees, everybody's sitting there quiet like they're sucking on lemons, even though they're eating cake, you know, and it's because most of the people there can't stand one another, you know, but nobody's going to say anything to anybody. And that type of work environment and that type of environment, period, I don't care if you're a service animal in that environment. Like that environment will mess with you, will bring down your frequency. Yeah. And so now you don't have full access to yourself in that space. So you think that, again, that you not saying anything, that it doesn't have any impact. But when you respond to your fear, you make that real for you, because whatever you stare at becomes a reality. So if your silence is based off of your fear or your belief that you have no voice or whatever, you choose not to move toward the space where your voice can be heard, then what you're doing is confirming and then making that reality where you have no voice more concrete for you. You are reinforcing that with your daily decision to show up and be silent. Even indecision is a decision within itself.
Mm-hmm. Distracted by the comings and goings.
Yes. Well, look, let me say.
No, it's all good. Yes, I agree. And I think that we can look at what's happening right now in the States and in Canada. I think they're calling it the Great Exodus, where people are, really looking at their workplace fulfillment and making decisions based on that. The stats are like wild for how many people are just completely dissatisfied with their working environment and are like, it was very loud. I don't know if you heard that notification. But anyways, just the culture that people are in. And I think we're becoming more aware of that as well, that we do have options now. And like now is sort of a different time. We're moving into this space where like you actually can have your own business or work for a company that reflects your values. And so when you can actually look at that and say, what is it that I stand for, then we can move in that direction as well.
Yes. And oftentimes it's the course or the path that hasn't been charted yet. And so that's what we're moving to, because we need innovative thinkers. We need people to travel down different paths. But if you're looking for what's possible based off of what you can see, I would say that in this space and time, we need to move to the center of our being, where we say we create possibilities.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%, because if we just keep looking at what's been done and what we think is possible based on what currently exists, we're going to end up with the same systems or same situations that we still have. Why can't something better exist? There's no reason.
Why is it that I have not been intentional about creating something better so that it can exist?
Yeah.
Because everything begins with a thought. All of creation, everything that we see begins with a thought. So what has been ingrained in us that keeps us from thinking of new ideas? Because as entrepreneurs, in the words of Albert Einstein, tomorrow's problems can't be solved with today's thinking. So what's keeping us from developing the solutions to tomorrow? What's keeping us from developing the solutions to this day? If not for these limitations or these barriers where we say we can't do a thing based off of being told that we can't do a thing.
Yeah, exactly. The conditioning that we've had our entire lives.
Exactly. And again, going back to shadow work, introspective work, that's what introspection is going deep within, asking yourself that deeper why, not staying on the surface level. Goals are surface level because you're looking at physical things to occur in order for that to happen. But values go much deeper than that. So the introspective work allows you to go down deep to understand what's down there and release yourself from anything that's a barrier to you experiencing that space where you can know a deeper truth about who you are based off of you moving in a values-based space.
Yeah. I think I like the idea of like it allows you to just become or embody being the author of your own story, or the artist of the masterpiece that is your life, which sounds kind of cheesy, but like I like that,
Yeah, no, cheesy or not, even that. Even we have to even question things like that, like why does it sound cheesy to us?
Right. That's
a good
point.
Exactly. And what is cheesy? Is that me saying that something that I love, some part of me that is authentic, has been shamed in the past and has been called cheesy, and so now I've adopted that identity and call it cheesy itself?
That's the voice of you're thinking too big. It's your dreams are too much.
Yeah, too much for who? It may be too much. It may be too much for the others, but that's because that's why they weren't given it.
Yeah, the wishful thinking part. Well, that's just wishful thinking. This is how life is. This is how reality is.
And with each one of those statements, an I am statement is being made. Yeah. And so
how disempowering is that? Like, it's,
exactly. How disempowering that is. This is just the way it is. But people with money, know that it's not just the way it is, because they can throw money around. If you have enough money, you can throw it around and make some things happen
Yeah, and
immediately.
fly giant phallus-shaped rockets into space.
Precisely. For the hell of it. For the hell of it.
For the hell of it.
But what keeps us from dreaming that big, you know?
Yeah.
Who told us that that's wishful thinking? And why is it that other people do not see that as wishful thinking and they're actually able to create things that have not been created before? You know, what's the difference between me and them? And am I inferior? Am I less than? Am I just unworthy? Like, what is that?
Yeah, or is it just that I have more disempowering thoughts and beliefs based on my conditioning?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. You can only go where there's no vision. You know, it says in my faith, you know, where there is no vision, the people perish. You know, and so where you don't have a vision, when you can't clearly see based off of what's inside of you, what you have, the vision that you have for your life based off of your values-based vision, then you don't have anything to move towards. And that's where the dreams and all of the magic that can happen in your life, that's where that dies. That's where happiness dies. That's where excitement dies. That's where new opportunity dies, new connection dies, you know, new experiences die in that space of believing that we are just not enough or can't, or that's wishful thinking. In the process of saying that is wishful thinking, that's when we make it true. That's when we make it true, because I declared it to be wishful thinking. But if I don't declare it, they could declare it wishful thinking. It'll be true for them. I'm not saying that they're telling a lie. What I'm saying is that they're not acknowledging the authority that they have in their words. And so just because they've accepted that as truth does not mean I need to do the same. Look, if that's your cup of Sprite, then obey your thirst. That doesn't mean I have to drink from the same cup. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we can choose to not give our power away. And I think we do that a lot on a daily basis. And it also takes doing the shadow work to be aware of that. As well as knowing your values. Like what are, like money is one of those things. It's like we really, really give our power away to this idea that money will give us something. And I think that's, you know, a driver for a lot of people in entrepreneurship. But when they actually go deeper into their values, again, like that's what gives you that almost limitless, is motivation the right word? The drive to to pursue that. But yeah, like we just give so much power away to beliefs, to the ideas that we've been ingrained in. Don't have to.
And motivation is the right word, but we use the word, a lot of people, you hear us, I say us, well, us. You hear a lot of people in our space, when you understand the code, say the word self-discipline instead of motivation, because I believe, I forget who said it, but somebody said that self-discipline is motivation on autopilot. But for me, self-discipline is you reconnecting with your values on a daily basis. That requires, that's a practice. Like living a life of authenticity is living a life of authenticity. It is a lifestyle. It is a daily practice. You acknowledging, I am authentic. And you waking up the next day and saying the same thing, because guess what? The person laying beside you may not be on the same page as you. They may not be on the same level of authenticity that you on. And if you don't remind yourself of that, you're going to match their level more than likely, or the levels will match themselves out. You know, you're not on the same page. So even understanding that even in your togetherness, you must be separate. Two trees can't grow in each other's shade. So even in relationships, we got to understand that, yes, we are one, but at the same time, we're separate in our togetherness, if that makes sense. And please, don't say please, no, that doesn't make sense.
No, that makes sense. I was just going to slide us into another sort of stream of thought here. But yes, I mean, like once a person or an entrepreneur figures out what their values are, what's the next step? So we just kind of touched on this, which is like making that decision to show up daily. How can someone stay in tune with that? Because it's really easy to, again, like we have so much ongoing influence and pressure and society and social media. Like what practices are available to us to like stay connected with our values?
Hundreds of them. So I'll bring up an old one, rational emotive therapy, rational emotive behavioral therapy, where they say, well, not therapy, but Yeah, therapy. But even though I'm not providing any therapy on this space, let me just say that again. I read the terms and conditions. All right.
So resources.
Exactly. But that it asks you three simple questions. Does the thinking that you have right now, or the thoughts that you're having right now, does it allow you to feel the way that you desire to feel? No? Yes? Okay. Whatever. Then the next thought is, does it help you achieve your goals? You know? And so if a no to either one of those questions now represents that the thought is illogical, you know? And then there's a third question to it. Wait, does it help you achieve your goals? Blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna think of the third question and I'm gonna hit you back with that. But looking at, does it help me achieve my goals? Does it help me feel the way that I want to feel? And for me, does this thought represent something that's actually factual? I think that is a third question. Is this factual? You know, so
I've seen something similar where it's like, is this always true? So can I see other examples, other people, other whatever, where that was not true? If that makes sense. And then you're kind of just like, bringing that logical thought back of like, okay, well, I think why would this be true for me, but not for this other person?
Precisely.
So then it's not true. It's not universally true.
And so that's a very surface level exercise that you can do that'll quickly get you to that, okay, I've attached some falsehood here. But then when you see that falsehood, why do I believe this is true for them, but not for me? That's when the introspective work begins again. That's when the shadow work begins again. Because you can still know a thing, but yet respond to the falsehood.
Yeah.
And many of us do. Like, I know that I'm worthy. What keeps me from using my voice? You know, I know that I'm worthy. What keeps me from creating that business? I know that I'm good at this. Everybody tells me I should open up a business. Why am I not doing this?
Yeah.
You know, what keeps me at the safe job as opposed to venturing out in the unknown of being my own entrepreneur, my own business owner?
Yeah. On that safe job, I think is just, it's not true anymore.
An illusion.
It's an illusion. Yeah.
An illusion.
Yeah. Maybe back in the day where pensions still existed and you could jump in at 20 years old and climb your way up. It's a long time ago. That it's not a reality anymore. So I always think this is not even sort of on topic, but I challenge people to look at that perspective of a job being secure and safe, as opposed to putting trust in yourself and your abilities and your ideas.
Yeah.
I think that's something to look at if you think that a job provides more safety than you can, or security.
And furthermore, I could bring it even, you know, which I'm a deep sea fish. That's where I live at, you know what I mean? So I always going to bring it down to the deep, you know what I mean? But honestly, you know, tomorrow is not safe. This concept of tomorrow exists in theory. The only reason we know that there's going to be a tomorrow, or presume there's going to be one, in theory, because there's always been a tomorrow. But then again, for so many people today, there will not be another tomorrow. So even tomorrow exists in theory. So how can you rest all of your security and all your safety in a said job that's based off of producing something and making money?
And I want to add, like, that doesn't have to be truth for everybody. That's, I think, why it's important to look at your values, because for some people, you may be perfectly, like, a job fits what you want and what your values are, but for others it might not. So that's, again, where you have to look at that on an individual level. But I just think that if that's a belief that you hold, but you are somebody that, you know, wants to, or has an idea, or has been told, you should really do this thing, and that's what's holding you back, like, that's something to look at. Yes.
And again, understanding those limiting beliefs that you have for yourself, you know, like, why am I choosing not to do this? Even though I know that I'm great at this, I'm already doing it, but I'm doing it for somebody else. Again, this is where understanding that everything that we do is a practice, and whatever we practice, we become. And our society has been groomed and conditioned to wait to be told what to do. Again, already beginning with the institution of schooling, where, you know, you have a teacher in front of you, and, you know, they give you a grade based off of how well you perform, like being groomed and conditioned in this environment. And again, you go through all of these grades, and then you have a graduation, which can be seen as a combination of the words gradual and indoctrination. You've been gradually indoctrinated into that system and what it was trying to teach you, and you've successfully been indoctrinated. So therefore, you've graduated beyond that. But we got to understand exactly what's being taught here. If everything we do is a practice, and whatever we practice, we become, and every thought has an impact on us in the physical environment, then what is this teaching? What set of thoughts is being created with this teaching over here? That's, again, this is where we move into the space. The why many people don't branch out and do their own thing, even though they really have it in their heart to do so, because they're waiting around and for somebody to tell them what to do.
Yeah, or give them permission.
There we go. There we go. And, somebody asked me, well, how did you create, just in a private practice, well, how did you, like, what accountant did you use, or what lawyer did you use to create, like, the forms, the articles of incorporation and whatnot? I said, I couldn't afford a lawyer. But I could afford a $20, $30 book from Amazon that a lawyer wrote on how to create a private practice for mental health. And so I purchased that book. Well, how did you follow this state? Well, there's these list of guidelines that I looked up after doing some searching, and I was able to follow that out. Well, how did you create a nonprofit? Well, there's this lawyer that wrote this nonprofit book step by step on how to create I told myself that even though I may not know a thing, there is nothing limited about my brain, and that I cannot learn something I do not know. So if there's nobody around to get it for me or give it to me, I'm gonna get it from the mud. I'm gonna learn it myself, and I'll do it myself.
Yeah.
And that
resources are so abundant. Like, we all have the ability to access so many resources. So really, it's just doing what you can with what you have. But there's very little that you can't do.
Yes.
Very little.
But again, I use that parable of the elephant, and the elephant being trained, is that once you've been trained to believe that you are bound to this, that you can't get outside of this, an elephant never forgets. And so then we operate in that limited space until a new algorithm is written, the software is updated, and we continue to respond to that new software. Because every single time that elephant responded to being bound, even though it could easily just walk away, it made it more real for it. On day 3,000, even though on day 3,000 it had the strength to break free, on day 4,000, that bind that rope had was that much stronger, 1,000 days more stronger, much stronger in that elephant's mind, forcing much more resistance and more fear to overcome, to actually move throughout that space. Again, I use Harriet Tubman, which it's a folklore quote, but it's a relevant quote when it comes down to the psyche of human beings. They said that Harriet Tubman said, I freed 1,000 slaves and I would have freed 1,000 more had they only known they were slaves. Speaking to the impact of psychological. You're not a slave until you believe yourself one. Period. You're not lost in the matrix until you accept that this is what is. Yeah. And that's all there is. And I don't have any authority to create anything else, even though we're exactly here to do that. And throughout creating, we have what is called an experience. And that's all life is one big experience. And we can choose new experiences based off the previous experience, based off of what actually reflects our values or what's true for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Am I off topic? We on topic?
We're very on topic.
Okay, I'm just making sure we get some understanding here.
Yeah. I'm about to get off topipic. There's a new Matrix movie coming out.
Yes.
So excited.
Oh my goodness, I love Keanu Reeves. Oh my goodness.
I think it's like Christmas or right around Christmas. So
look, I lit up like a Christmas tree. My goodness. Oh my goodness. I was watching the commercial on YouTube. Well, I think you may have been the one who told me about it.
No, I didn't tell you about it. We were just watching some, because we don't watch, like, we don't have TV. We don't watch TV. Just stick to the Netflix. But I was like, I wonder what new movies are coming out. Like, is there anything good? Because there really hasn't been a lot that I've been interested in lately. So we were watching some trailers on YouTube, and I was like, a new Matrix.
Yes.
So I'm going to the theaters for that one. I
Yeah.
also don't, these days in this COVID age, it's hard to, leave the couch and the pause button and the bathroom being right there and the snacks at home to go out. So
yes.
This is for the Matrix, I will go to the theater.
Let me tell you. Okay, so getting to the topic, back to the topic at hand. If you want to understand your why, a great movie to watch is the second one. Where, I forget the dude that he meets, but the fancy Frenchman dude, I think he called him the Frenchman or something like that. But anyway, he talks about the why that we do things. He's going through this cycle of whys, why. I love that, even though a lot of people hate the second matrix, even people that love the matrices hate the second matrix. I love that because they brought in again the deeply philosophical points that we need to ask ourselves. Like, he was straight in introspective mode. And so I'm like eating all that up. Like, yeah, ask him why. Even though he's a bad guy, I'm like, yes, the why, man. That's all that matters. The why, the freaking why. Nobody's asking about the why. Thank you, bad guy.
Man. It's been so long since I've seen the second one. So that's actually, we're like, oh, we got to do some Matrix marathons here. I'll take note of that when we watch that.
Yeah.
But okay, so what was the resource that you're talking about with like the questions? The first one being, does this make me feel the way that I want to feel?
Oh yeah, rational.
And then
I can post. Matter of fact, I could send you those questions so we can post them underneath this video.
We'll get that out there for people. I just wanted to ask, because we'll probably want to wrap this up pretty quick, but what are there any other so you said that was like a really good kind of surface level just to see where your thoughts land in terms of being, logical or finding your truth in that. Is there anything else that you would strongly recommend? I mean, obviously getting into deeper shadow work and understanding that, but any other tools, like is meditation one of those things?
Oh my goodness. So since you're going to throw that one out there, I mean, that was a great alley right there. Let me tell you. Yes, we actually do have a great tool that has been released today based off of popular demand. So, tell your friend, tell your mother, tell your father, tell your priest, tell your drug dealer. No, don't tell your drug dealer. I'm messing around. No drug dealers.
Hey, everybody deserves access to these.
Exactly. Whatever. Hey, everybody need to meditate. Even drug dealers. Let's make sure y'all get y'all subscription. Anyway, we have a new mindfulness subscription that we have released that Hannah has masterfully put together, and I'm gonna show y'all a little banner here for it. We're going to step out for a second, and I'm going to show this real quick to you. Oh, there we go. Y'all saw that inner standing right there. That is the new meditation subscription. Can you tell them a little bit about the meditation subscription?
Yes, I'd be happy to. So these are, basically what we have is like a core collection of audio guided meditations. I'll tell you the topic. So we have higher self, deep relaxation, gratitude, body awareness, self-love, motivation, and manifestation. Everybody wants to know how to manifest. So they're all these really great guided meditations by Harry. They range from like 5 to 30 minutes. So depending on what your life is like, you can, take what you need, and it's available to you to access anytime, anywhere. There is an app that you can download, but also you get a private podcast link. So I believe you can download it on whatever podcast subscription app that you have as well. And the other cool thing is, as a subscriber, there are ongoing meditations and content added every month. So you always get some new stuff, which is really nice.
So again, I just tried to share. That's not going to work. That's not going to work. Let me remove us just one more time so people can see. Cool. All right, we'll be posting.
That's a little sneak peek. We'll be posting more, but this just got dropped today. So if you want to go check it out, it's becomeanoutlier.com/understanding right there, and it's a really, really good deal for the lifetime right now. We're offering. We were going to do like just a yearly subscription, but we figured since this is brand new, we want to give people the opportunity to just get lifetime access. So you just pay once, and then you get the core meditations, and then everything that gets added every single month. Forever.
Yes.
As long as it exists. And if it ever doesn't exist, you get to download everything to your device. So
Yes. And real quick, the meditations, I've had clients ask me for years to record the meditation, and I'll send them meditations and they'll be like, no, I want you to say the meditation. So, after moving into the social influencing space, many more people started to say that. And of course, Hannah, she had been saying that as well. And so finally, again, I decided to show up and lean into the discomfort of hearing my voice being recorded for meditations. And so I chose meditations. We chose meditations that's about like higher consciousness. That's truly about really going deeper and summoning in some of that energy that you need to get motivated, to move forward throughout your day, to invite in that higher wisdom. You want to say something, Hannah?
No, yeah. Good. Keep going.
Oh, okay. All right. I just make sure you get in there. Yeah. Yeah. To bring in that higher understanding and understanding, so it's not basically you just sit there and listen to somebody say, just breathe slowly. It's more than just breathe slowly, even though life and death is in the breath. And I really appreciate those that are making meditations like those out there, because I listen to meditations like that as well. But I have been listening to my meditations on repeat. So they are nocturnal certified, School of Outliers certified, and I really do believe that these meditations are good. I wouldn't put my name on it if I didn't believe that they would be a benefit to other people.
And I think the nice thing too is like I often, when I was looking for guided meditation, I'd spend so much time like looking on YouTube and finding one, and then you start one and you're like, oh, I don't really like this person's voice. And you just end up being like ready to move on by the time you even find one. And I know there's other apps and stuff out there, but the great thing about these is they are curated, again, like Carrie said, for like tapping into your higher self, accessing your authenticity, all that good stuff. So yeah, we're really excited to have it out here finally. And
yes,
they are just going to get better from here. So we have some more features being added. And I wanted to mention as well, there will be like morning motivation audios in there as well, some little short ones. So.
Yes. And so please sign up at School of Outliers. I have the website directly for the subscription. Please tell everybody about it. And also, the sooner that my people can know about me and bring in that support, the sooner I could spend more time talking to y'all and putting together these programs, Hannah and I. Today was unique in that I was able, this week is our anniversary week. And so I took off this week to go down to the beach. And that's actually where I'm at right now, which is where I'm sitting on the sofa. I'm not on the beach, but I'm on like my little condo or whatever. And so if you notice, if you follow me on Instagram, which if you don't, please do, the Nocturnal Therapist on Instagram, you'll notice that I did more like live videos, like several live videos, like back to back. When you have the space and you have the energy and you know that you're a creator, you can create, but again, with everything that I do have on my plate, mainly my private practice, which I love and would never surrender, it's taxing to create that extra time to do the other stuff I need to create, so definitely let people know that you're not only supporting the cause and supporting yourself, but also supporting the team, but mainly supporting yourself, because I really believe that you'll benefit from the meditations.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's anything else? We covered everything.
No, yeah, I think that was really a really good conversation. Would love to hear from anyone watching the replay. If you have questions, we're always happy to hear from you, get answers, as well as any topics that you want us to talk about on future episodes.
Yes. And so look, mad love, mad respect. This has been a great session. I think the next episode, we may even go deeper into understanding values and how they provide direction and understanding the difference between values and goals. May talk a little bit deeper about that.
Yeah.
Who knows? This deepness, these topics that we cover. Honestly, we go deep immediately because that's just where we are. But there's even layers of depth to the deepness that we go. And so just stay tuned. Just know that you're just going to continue to grow through this. You're going to continue to learn new things just from the connection. When 2 or 3 are gathered, 2 or 3 or more are gathered, and just Hannah and I being here is enough. But where 2 or more are gathered with the same intention, that amplifies that energy, and it amplifies the ability for that experience to manifest in this physical plane. That's why I say just showing up for me, I fulfilled like that obligation, and I get fulfillment even if no one else watches these videos, because I know that the mission is being accomplished. Purpose, I've responded with intentionality to my purpose, therefore making it more real no matter what it may look like or feel like in this physical space. My inner world is satisfied and I have peace with that. With that being said, I don't have anything else. You got anything else, Hannah?
No. Have a great weekend, everyone. We will see you next week.
See y'all next week. Look, I'm gonna put the banner back up. We're gonna get out of here, and I'm gonna leave it up for seconds before I end the live show.
All right.
All right.